Thank you, Peter, for the opportunity to join your panel today, and thank you, Amir, for organizing this conference, you and your colleagues. It's a delighted to be here with you today. Listening to the panelists so far, I realize that there's a confluence of lots of things that we all believe in. I think we believe in the power of knowledge, in being able to share it, the power of partnerships, of public and private partnerships. And I want to talk just a few minutes about some of the things that I have seen and I'm involved in that I think really meet these criteria. The first is Health Phone. Health Phone was founded by one of my colleagues, Nan Wadhwani, who saw the desperate need for health information for women in India who have given birth to children and having a very high death rate of those children. And he said, someone has to do something about this. So 13 years ago, he quit his job and he started producing videos in different Indian languages directed at women in pre and postnatal, and the child in the first 100 years, 1,000 days, 100 years would be appropriate, 1,000 days of birth. And he wanted to see what kind of impact he could have on this marketplace in really informing women about the best practices in healthcare for themselves and for their newborns. And he produced these videos that could be on a cell phone, a very simple feature cell phone. And if they weren't connected, and they cannot be connected for video for the most part yet to the internet, he put them on SD cards. And the SD cards were inserted in these phones. And he did the pilot a year ago in the Maharashtra district outside of Mumbai. It was so successful with women who wanted to know, women who did not have access. They are outside the grid. As the ITO, Gary, we have to speak. They are outside the grid of connection. And here was the first time that they really could be connected to video explaining simple health care to them in their native language and oftentimes their local dialect. It was an amazing pilot program. It was so successful that the Minister of Health said, we in the Maharashtra district said, we are going to make this available to every woman giving birth in our district. And this is going to have a major impact today. Health Phone is a vast personal video library today that is going to be made available to Indian women, hopefully throughout the country, but starting in this area where Vodafone has now stepped up and said that they are going to advertise on their advertisements the health phone availability, make it available at no cost to the user, to those that can access the internet or cell phones that can download video, and the people who are outside that interconnected universe are going to have this available on SD cards that Vodafone is going to make available in the 500,000 shops around the district where they deliver, so they can be bought for very low cost. This is a remarkable advancement. If I were to ask Nan today what is his idea, what is his ideal, what is his vision would be that every woman giving birth in the world would have access to this information. And with the technology available today in communication, we can make this available in any language on video that is easily understandable by people who are both literate and illiterate. This is the basis of another advancement to advanced communications to the 21st century. It's how I got into this in the first place, into knowing Nan and our colleagues at Video for Villages. Video for Villages is really taking this concept of being able to bring this video information to people who are not yet connected to the internet, but can have the information on SD cards inserted in very simple feature phones, which are the phones used by the majority of the population throughout the developing world. And we can connect them. I think to myself, being a communications person, a visual person from the television business, I know what the impact can be for people, and I think about them and think about moving from the 15th century to the 21st century communications in first simple steps, and will ultimately be connected. So this is very important, I think, to realize that this is a confluence of philanthropy, because HealthPhone is a nonprofit, of corporations, Vodafone, which are coming together, and public policy that is really pushing this information to the forefront. So I think it's really the confluence for what we are hoping to establish in the proclamations for 2015. But let me say, I've seen a lot of women in this area as well. And 15 years ago, we started an organization, my colleagues and I started an organization called Springboard Enterprises to identify women who are in technology and life sciences. And thank you, Sherilyn, for bringing to fore the difference on how women and men think, because this is probably the basis of what we found when we went out to look for women in these fields of life sciences. One of them is here with me today. Heather Potters is sitting here in the front row. I hope you get a chance to meet her. She is a co-founder with Kathleen Collender of PharmaJet, a needleless injector for vaccines. This is being distributed today. It's been a long road, but it has been distributed today in more than a dozen countries around the world, reducing diseases spread by reuse of needles, which is a very important reason why they founded this company, but also reducing the amount of vaccine that has to be used in order to be effective, saving lives and reducing cost. I'd like to speak a lot more about that initiative and others that the women we have, over 550 of them that we've brought to market so far in the last 15 years, like the woman who is producing generic drugs in Africa for HIV and malaria vaccines. So I think there are just enormously wonderful stories that we can bring to bear, but let me just say I'm a very strong proponent of combining public, private, philanthropic, and sustainable businesses that have the revenue to sustain them over time and really solve a lot of our healthcare problems. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brian Trelstead, who is going to do his 5 independence of women, who I think, other things equal, do understand some of this stuff better. I'd like to ask Kay, if I may, to perhaps answer this question. Why should people invest more in female-led companies? Or should they be gender neutral in their decisions? And did we turn on the microphones?
Are these, this is on?
Yeah.
Sure, be happy to answer that, because that's why I started Springboard Enterprises in 2000 to invest behind women in technology and life sciences. At that time, only 1.7% of the $104 billion invested in this country in venture capital went to women. And I said, somebody has to do something about this, because there are very intelligent, forward-thinking women in these sciences, and they're not getting the funding they need. Even today, women are underfunded. They get about 40% less funding for their businesses, but they're very capital efficient because they perform on par or better than men-led businesses in the same categories, and that's according to the Kauffman Foundation that did the research. Women-led companies are more likely to make the transition from startup to sustainability than men-led businesses are, believe it or not. And I have nothing against men. Men are great investors in our businesses, so please, the gentlemen in the room, come and join us. VC firms that invest in women-led businesses have better performance than those that don't, and that's according to the Reuter-Thompson study released. Yet, in spite of these overperforming women entrepreneurs in the life sciences area and in technology, they're underfunded. And this is a great opportunity for investors. Let me give you a little bit of the information about the Springboard Enterprises companies, because to date we have brought 545 companies to market. We have raised $6.5 billion behind these companies. 40% of them are in life sciences, in biotech, devices, diagnostics, and these are not easy fields to come to market with, yet women are overperforming. So it's really very important that we get women to parity in these marketplaces because they're outperforming. And for investor groups, many of them led by family offices and individuals like PharmaJet, like CureMark, by Joan Fallon, who's bringing a product to market for treatment of autism. Big problems that are being solved in the marketplace by women who see the need for them. And one of the reasons that I am backing Video for Villages, which is taking communications to the third world women and children, is because we know we can really affect their livelihood, the quality of their lives, saving lives. And a lot of our women are engaged in development of vaccines and the like to serve these populations. So why do I think we should invest more in women-led businesses? Because we're great investment opportunities and we dramatically outperform the market. 80% of those 545 companies that we brought to market are in business today over the last 15 years. That is twice the national average of all VC-funded businesses. And over a third of them have had positive liquidity events for their investors, including IPOs. So for an investment opportunity, this is the market you should be in.
Thank you. I wonder if we could turn.
Yes, this question is actually for Liesl and Kay. I've got 2 daughters and wanted to know what's the advice that you give your portfolio company leaders, women leaders, and what's the best advice you've received?
Well, we in our portfolio of companies, we're very strong on human capital. It is the human capital that we think is extremely important to our company. So we bring a national roster of human capital to these networks of entrepreneurs. And we advise them to use them judiciously and appropriately, but aggressively, because it is the knowledge of all the people that you can bring to your table that really lead you to not only the financial capital, but the business relationships that you need in the marketplace. So that is the advice we like to give our entrepreneurs and what we invest in. And we stay with them for a lifetime. Even when they sell their companies, many of them are serial entrepreneurs, but many of them go on to do other things like entrepreneur in residence at the White House, at NIH, at DARPA. We infiltrate. So we are building our networks.
Lisa?